Welcome to Inspiring Possible. I'm Christy Pennison, former stuck person turned therapist and dream consultant. Are you feeling stuck, overwhelmed, uncertain, or just need a little inspiration? Then I want to help you gain the clarity, confidence, and courage to create possibilities and live a life you love. Because folks, life's too short to be miserable.
Welcome back, Inspiring Possible people. So good to have you with us. You know, I say that every time that this podcast starts, but I just think it's a constant reminder that I'm so happy and so grateful that you're listening, that you choose to join us to be able to welcome another inspiring guest today. And, you know, one of the things that I actually did an episode not too long ago with another guest, and I wrote after the episode was done, I love podcasting. And sometimes I forget that I love these conversations too much, this much until I get to the end of them. But I was reminded today, I love doing this. But the reason why we have these guests come and they give generously of their time, their wisdom, their experiences is because we want to encourage you along this journey in life, no matter where you're at. Literally, it is a pay it forward. The guests that come on here are freely given of their time and their expertise. And we really just want to be able to help you reimagine what may be possible for you in life. Or if you find yourself in a stuck place and you're having a hard time juggling all the things, then maybe this can just be a reminder to you about maybe some things that you haven't thought about in a while that you can refocus on. And so today, if you are somebody that has ever struggled with or felt or teetered on burnout, then welcome. This is the episode for you. I think that I am often in denial about any time that I get close to burnout because I'm I'm not there. I'm fine. I just got to keep going, just keep pushing through. It'll be fine. I'll rest one day when I'm dead. Okay. But, that doesn't always work. And when you have multiple hats that you're wearing in your life, then sometimes you do need the time to slow down to figure out what it is that you're supposed to be prioritizing in this season of life so that you can show up completely as yourself in the best possible way for those around you. And so if you would categorize yourself as maybe someone who likes to achieve, but also would like to maintain your sanity in the midst of all of that, then I have the guest for you. And so I am welcoming to the show today, Ashley Huegi. Huegi, I said it right?
You got it. You nailed it.
Oh, yay. So she's the president of growth and impact at Go Abundance Women. She's an entrepreneur, speaker, and the founder of, and I love this, the and in all capital life of movement to help high achieving women build successful businesses and meaningful lives without burnout. And if you're a man listening, keep listening too, because I always think these conversations are super it's like a window into the woman world. You know what I mean? And I think that you may resonate with some of the things we're going to talk about today. And if you have an awesome woman in your life that's a rock star, then it helps you understand maybe the things that she goes through, maybe things that goes through her head, and maybe the support that also she might need so that she can also maybe learn to redefine what success looks like for her and help her live more intentionally if you have one of those incredible women in your life. Congratulations. So welcome, Ashley.
Oh gosh, thank you so much for having me, Christy. I am genuinely so excited for this conversation because I think so many women are carrying a weight that they were never really meant to carry. And the hardest part is that we've kind of normalized this. And so I'm super, super excited to be here and just share and give back and pour in some of the things I've learned on my journey.
Okay, well, look, I'm excited to have you here. Let me ask you this because I've thought about this a lot. At what point in society do you think we expected women to hold it all? Because I think that's part of the challenge, right? Is there's this expectation to be all that we don't have for, the whole population.
100%. And this is one of my favorite things to talk about. And I really think it starts with this inherited model of success that we were given, especially for women. If you think about what women have gone through and the roles and the hats that they've had to wear, in the last 50 years, it's changed quite a bit. And I think this is true for some men as well in terms of like the burnout piece. Like we are just taught this is normalized that if I just push harder, if I just, have more ambition, if I just, like what you said, rest later, then I'm going to get to where I need to be in terms of success. But the problem with that is it's a lie at the end of it. And that's really been my journey. I think a lot of women grew up really believing that success was something you earned through hard work. And honestly, I was very good at it. I was ambitious. I called myself an exhausted achiever. And what I help women do is go from exhausted achiever to a true integrated leader because at the end of the day, that's really what women need is integration. And so I was this ambitious, driven, I loved building things, creating momentum. I loved achieving goals. I was on paper, I checked every box of what I thought success was supposed to look like. And I eventually achieved all of these things that I think we work so hard for. My business grew, opportunities grew, influence grew. And again, from the outside, it looked successful. But what I realized along the way is I had started measuring my worth by productivity. And that's a really dangerous game because there's always another goal, right? There's always another milestone, another achievement, another mountain to climb. And what happens is we eventually normalize this cycle and we get to the end of the road, we get to this achievement and we feel numb or we feel exhausted or we feel lonely. And that is a script that I'm just really passionate about helping people change because that was my lived experience. I got to this place in life and I realized what the heck did I just build if I can't be fully present for it? And so many women that I have
Mm.
conversations with, that's the same thing. And I think, the biggest like little like teetering point for me was in the middle of building this. So just to give you some context, because I think that's important. So I run Go Abundance Women now, but before I had a 10 plus year career in the mortgage industry. So I had built this boutique mortgage company. I was a direct lender. I had a very large pipeline. I had what you thought success would feel like. And then I became a mom. I have two young boys. So I was building a business, I was raising a family. And I think motherhood has this way of exposing everything. Suddenly, success wasn't about me anymore. And I wasn't asking myself, how much can I accomplish? I was asking myself, what kind of life am I actually building? And I realized that at the end of that, I had built this life that I couldn't be fully present for. I was completely burned out. I was completely lonely. And that for me, I realized something had to change in that.
Yeah. Look, and I think this story is, I wish I have not heard this story before.
I
But it is
know.
like you would be so surprised, and even some of the guests that have come on our show, there is a theme, and even in my own industry, as I've worked hard, like you said, hard work, hustled, whatever, I've had the honor and privilege to sit in groups where, again, and it's mainly women because the industry that I'm a part of is female, dominant. Doesn't mean that there's not males a part of it, but I've sat in these rooms and I cannot tell you the amount of times everybody's like anxious. And I don't say everybody because there's some that maybe have figured out the intentional balance, but the majority, if we were to take a poll in the room, myself included, there's periods where they're hanging on by a thin thread, is what I'll say. It's just one thing that in the business that's going to go sideways. It's really going to keep them up at night, just trying to figure and solve the problems. And I think it's the behind the scenes of entrepreneurship that a lot of people don't always know goes down or always sees because they just see, like you said, the outside picture of what you're talking about. Like, Ashley's successful. She built this incredible mortgage company. She is killing it. She has all the things, the house, the kids, whatever, and have no idea behind the scenes that Ashley is, I guess, in that your experience was hanging on by a thin thread.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I think so many women, the cool thing about what I get to do now is I get to talk to like hundreds of really amazing women doing incredible things, and our challenges are all universal. And so I realized, okay, I am not alone in this, in my journey. Not every other, like what you said, but most women at some point in their career, if they're a high achiever, if they're ambitious, have experienced this burnout or this disconnection from themselves. And I think that's the narrative and the story that we really have to change. And I think women, again, have inherited this model of success that they were never designed for the lives that we're really trying to build. And, working harder, pushing longer, sacrificing more, sleeping less, doing more, proving yourself. Eventually you'll arrive. And the problem is many women do arrive, but they're exhausted, they're disconnected. And that's really because success and alignment are not the same thing. Achievement and fulfillment are not the same thing. And so many women are really experiencing burnout because they're trying to force themselves into this definition of success that doesn't align with who they are or what they value. And that's really where, when we talk about alignment, because I think alignment, first, you have to be radically honest. I think that's like the first step in all of this is you have to realize, oh my gosh, I've built this life and I'm not here for it. Something has to
This is
change.
not working anymore. This
This
is
is
not
not
working.
working. Yeah, and it's not some big dramatic thing that happens. It's like small little things, little red flags, whether your body gives you signals, whether you just internally you have like this gut feeling that something's off. But again, we're taught to ignore it, to bury it, to push it down, to grind, to hustle. And this really where we have to kind of detox from this hustle piece that we've been taught. And that's really where I like to talk about alignment. A lot of people are like, how do you balance it all? I'm like, I don't balance it all. I'm in alignment with what matters to me in the season right now. Sometimes my business is going to require more of me. Sometimes my family is going to require more of me. But the thing is balance means it's equal. And that sets us up for failure, right? And most women usually feel like they're out of alignment because it usually sounds like this. I should feel happier. Why do I feel guilty all the time? Why am I so exhausted? Why does it feel like I'm succeeding everywhere and every places except for what matters the most? And those are little signs. And for me, that was how I was feeling. And I realized I was never fully present wherever I was. I was always trying to move on to the next thing. It was like I was just checking this list of things, right? And so, how do you like move back into alignment? And again, the first step is being radically honest and understanding, okay, I need to stop what I think I should be doing right now and start asking myself what matters most to me in this season of life that I'm in. Because again, alignment isn't about doing everything, it's about doing the right things. Is it the right things for me in my season with my kids? Is it the right things for me? Is it going to move the needle in my business? So, alignment it means realizing that you don't want less ambition. You still want your ambition to serve your life, but it's serving you instead of consuming it, right? And it doesn't compete with it. And alignment
Yeah.
looks a lot less glamorous than people really think.
Well, and I love how you just said serving instead of consuming or instead of maybe competing. And I loved how you just said radical honesty because this is where I think sometimes, and I don't know, you're the one who speaks with hundreds of women and gets their perspective all the time. But like what I find with women, because I am one and I know thyself, is that sometimes we're not radically honest that yes, I want I still want to achieve these things and I want to have this ambition. And I also want to be present for my family and show up for them in radical ways. You know what I mean? In ways that, give them good experiences and I'm present along their journey. I don't just miss their life and then we show up one day and they've grown and, I missed it. I don't think
Yeah.
that especially mom would ever say that. Like, but sometimes there's just things that happen in life that when we're not, I guess to your point, in alignment, we miss the things that are really a priority to us. So how would you suggest a woman or and again, if for the men listening, if you're listening to the show too, how can somebody be radically honest with themselves? Because I think that can be sometimes a challenge to be super honest about a season or a place that you're in, or maybe even to give up or let go of something that you wanted to fit in a season that's just not possible.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So radical honesty, like I said, is not glamorous. Sometimes it looks like grieving the loss of this person that you became. And you can thank that person and say, "Thank you for getting me here and for serving me in this season of life. But this next stage, this next piece of what I want to build and create, I have to kind of be a different person. So thank you for getting me here. And now I need to kind of become something else to get me to this next level, whether it's this next level in business, whether this next level in life." And it really, you know, not honesty with everyone else, and I think that's an important piece too, especially I'm a recovering people pleaser. I go in and out of rehab all the time. It's
Me
something that
too.
I struggle with, and but I think it's you have to be radically honest with yourself and what works for you, what you want, and not all these outside influences, not this outside noise, not what society tells you, not what your parents tell you, not what your I'm married and I listen to my husband, but sometimes I have to be honest with myself and what I want and not what he wants, and he can meet me where I am. And, we'd often tell ourselves, ugh, it's just a busy season. Once I get through this launch, once the kids are a little bit older, once I hit this goal. And like you said, before we know it, the years have passed and the breakthrough for me wasn't really finding a better strategy. It was being honest with wasn't working. So for me, it looked like, and for a lot of the women that I talk to, it's admitting the first off is like, look, I admit that the life that I was building, not I was building, wasn't fully aligned with how I wanted to live. It looked like admitting I am exhausted and something has to change. My body is telling me I'm exhausted. It looks like admitting that I was chasing goals that look good on paper but weren't necessarily creating fulfillment. It looked like admitting, and this is one of my favorite ones, that I couldn't keep doing everything alone. That is like one of the most important and one of the most powerful things. Like it honestly, it's uncomfortable. And radical honesty requires us to let go of these stories that we've been telling ourselves. I'm the oldest of four girls. I was that oldest child sibling to a T. I thought I had to be everything for everybody all the time. And so I had to let go of some of this inner narrative that I had told myself that I had to be the support system, that I have to be the strong one. Because I truly believe awareness is the beginning of every breakthrough. And you can't change, you can't take action unless you're willing to acknowledge that. So that for me, I think is one of the some of the things that you can just start to ask yourself. And your body gives you clues, your gut gives you clues, right? It's just you have to be quiet enough, you have to silence the outside noise, and you have to be aware enough to say, hey, I something needs to change here. And I'm willing to be uncomfortable. I'm willing to grieve the loss of this identity, of this life that I thought I had created. And I'm willing to go build something that's meaningful to me.
Yeah. And I love that you're talking about this because I literally just had a conversation about this earlier today with somebody that, as I'm working through my own things of like awareness and what's holding me back. And like you said, that person that helped me get me here is not going to be the person that's going to help me get to the more aligned version of where I want
Yes.
to be. And I think that these conversations with yourself and this awareness has to like happen frequently because it changes so much, but you can get out of alignment so easily and you'll spend a lot of time there and not even realize that you're in a life that you're like, this is not what I expected it to be. Like I worked and I resonated with you saying earlier when you were just like, what I learned was hard work is going to get you to where you want to be, and that you can work yourself into a literal hole that it's hard to get out of. And then
Yeah.
one day you're realizing, like, well, what did I strive and do all this hard work for if it's not bringing me that fulfillment and it's not feeling aligned with where I want to be. So after somebody becomes aware, what do you say next, or what helped you in your
Yeah.
journey to like
Yeah.
figure out this alignment piece and to be able to live a little bit more authentically in a life that you felt a little bit more present with and more
Yeah.
probably more peace about
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, for sure. So I think one of the greatest the greatest places to start, and I call it like an alignment audit. And I go back and do it all the time because as you just mentioned, you kind of go in and out of it all the time. But once you have done it enough and you're familiar enough, you recognize little cues. So for me, I will ask myself, what is my current version of success costing me? Again, success isn't bad, but because yes usually comes with a cost. So if your success is costing your health, is it costing you your peace? Is it costing you your relationships or your presence? Then it's worth stopping and pausing and asking whether this model needs to change. And so I ask myself those questions all the time. And one of the non negotiables for me, and it's because I'm a mom of two young boys, they're 4 and 8. This is a precious season, right? But I believe that I can be a present mom and a successful business owner. And so for me, is this going to take me away from moving the needle in my business? If it's a yes, then I don't do it. I delegate it or I remove it from my list. Or, if that's the business side. On the personal side, I ask myself, is this going to take me away from being eye to eye with my kids? If it's a yes, then I've learned to say no. And that's one of the hardest things I think as like this person, this exhausted achiever, they're typically somebody that is a people pleaser, they're a perfectionist, they're saying yes to all of these things. I was a yes person. I signed up to be T-ball coach. I signed up to be president on the board of the PTA. I signed up to be one of the head of ministry for our church for children's ministry. And I was doing all of these things. And I realized I thought I was doing them because I was going to get me time with my kids, but it actually took me away from being with my kids. And so it was an evaluation that I had to do. And I was like, okay, so this isn't serving me. I'm going to have to say no. And I'm not going to feel guilty about saying no because I now know that it's going to cost me my peace. It's going to cost me my presence. I'm going to say no over here on the business side of things because I can now hire that out. I can delegate. If this is a $5, $6 task, I should not be doing that, right? My best and highest use of my time are the things that are going to move the needle in the business. And that's what I think we just have to be really clear on. And so one of the things that I give women is called an alignment audit. And I'm happy to share this with the group. It's just like a little spreadsheet I made when I was going through this journey because the way I had to like process everything was I had to like bucket everything of my life. And so what you do is you like literally, if you can stick to it for 3 days, it's better if it's a week. But you going in every 30 minutes, it feels tedious and you feel like you're like, it's a shame sheet, really. It feels like it. But you're literally going in and you're literally going in and you're documenting every task that you're doing every 30 minutes, whether it's personal, whether it's business, however you want to look at it. And then it has columns. And so it will ask you, is this, it's got like a sales column for business. It's got a leadership column. Is this an adventure bucket? Is this something that gives me joy? Is this family? What area of the business? What area of life is this? And then it asks you, am I good at it? So are you good at it? And do you enjoy it? Do you suck at it? And are you bad? Do you not enjoy it? Are you really good at it, but you don't enjoy it? And so it asks you to choose. And then there's another column that helps you. And so then you go in and you figure out, okay, these are the things that I love. These are the things I'm really good at. And then you switch it. You go, these are the things that I'm terrible at. And these are the things that I hate doing. Those jobs right there, you or those things, you either can remove it completely, eliminate it from your day, from the hats that you're wearing, or you can go and you can hire that. The use of a VA has been one of the biggest game changers of my life. I literally did that alignment audit. I do it frequently. I usually do it like every quarter, or if I'm starting to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm starting to get overwhelmed. I'm starting to I know I'm going down that path. I recognize this behavior. I can go back to that and I can say, hey, I can either eliminate this. If I want to use it to hire a VA, I can you can throw it in Chatty, you could throw it in Claude and say, here's the tasks that I suck at. And here's the things that I know I don't do. And these are the things that need to get done, or these are the things that are a $5, $6, $7 an hour job, or whatever it may be. Because if you start looking at your time and your capacity, and if you value yourself at a certain, let's say, hourly rate, it becomes easier to say no to certain things as well. So I could go through that a little bit deeper, but doing an alignment audit, doing this little exercise is one of the greatest uses because you realize after you've documented all the stuff that you're doing, half the stuff you probably didn't have to do, or maybe there's some stuff that had to get done, but it can be delegated or hired out. And that just frees it up, gives you more capacity, allows you to do your zone of genius, the thing that lights you up, the thing that actually moves the needle so that you can there then build the business and be present, get some of your time and freedom back to do the things that you want to do on the personal side of things as well.
Yeah, I love that. It's been a minute since I've done something similar to that, but every time that I do it, I have to remind myself, Christy, why are you still doing this? There is the people that can help you with this. And honestly, the people that have, thank you if you're listening, one of those people that's helped me before, gracias to you. But it gives them an opportunity to either have a job or do something or be supportive, and it utilizes their skills of genius. And so I've had a really, I think early on in my journey of just building and growing a business, I was the person that tried to do all the things. And then I'd be like, oh, like we all get kind of stuck in like, nobody's going to do it as good as me, or, whatever. But then you start to realize like, wait, the best way for me to really fully lead or fully be in the position that's gonna help drive all this forward is to allow people to not only help me, which again is hard. I think
Yeah.
you even mentioned that, I think earlier, like receiving help,
Yeah.
is actually a thing for you listening that are like, "What's that?" You can receive help from people. But when you're that firstborn, because I get you, Ashley. I mean, I was one of two, so there wasn't like four of us, but there was just two of us, and one was my brother. Okay, but I know as a firstborn too, like I was like, we got to get with it. Like I got to make sure that we keep going, And I was just talking about this earlier today about like, man, asking for help was one of the hardest things, and I'm a helper. I'm like a professional helper here, folks. But it was the hardest thing for me to be able to do, and then to realize that, you know what? I can trust people to come alongside me, and they're even sometimes gonna do a better job than I was able to do. And it was like, and so I talk to sometimes people that are like, I don't know if I wanna delegate or give that out, and I'm like, "Do you can you? Can you?" Because if you can, I know that there's sometimes limitations when you're in the early stages and you're like, "I'm scrapping by," or even if you're in a job where you might not have the ability to always delegate some of your tasks, but, like, if you can find a way to even delegate stuff at home, like, maybe you have a really high career job where you're in some kind of industry, but you have the resources to pay somebody to come and do your laundry, and the laundry's been piling up for 2 weeks, and you wanna be able to spend time with your kids when you get home versus doing the laundry, like, "Ma'am, pay somebody to do that laundry,"
Oh
but
my gosh, Chris, I just had this conversation about laundry last week because I was sitting with one of my closest and dear friends, and she's like, "I literally suck at laundry. I have like 12 loads of laundry. Everybody knows it's a thing. It piles up. I'm constantly like doing the fluff mode all the time." I'm like, ask for help. Like, let's rethink this because she was so stuck. Like, I can't ask for help. And I think a lot of us, like you mentioned, get stuck on this asking for help piece. But it really asking for help is really it's not a weakness because I used to think it was a sign of weakness. Like I can't carry it all alone. Like I'm showing weakness that I need help. No, it's one of the greatest leadership strategies that you can have. And what I started to do, because I had to shift my mindset around this, was okay, I know how good it feels when I help somebody. If I don't ask for help, I'm depriving somebody of that opportunity to serve with their gifts, to serve with something that makes them feel good to give back. And I think that's really what we have to recognize because asking for help in all of this, asking for help was probably the biggest breakthrough of all for me. And I see it all the time in women. They come to me, they're like, I have these processes. I need help. I can't get myself unstuck. I'm like, okay, well, let's go through this alignment audit. Let's go through it. And I realize you need to delegate some of this stuff. Like, what are your highest and best use of your time are the things that are going to move the needle, that are going to generate more revenue so that you can get your time and capacity back so that you could do the things that you really enjoy doing. And they're always resistant to it. But I've spent years believing that I had to kind of earn this support, that I had to prove that I could do it all by myself. But the truth is nobody builds anything meaningful alone. Not business, not families, not legacies, not movements. And at some point, we have to stop wearing independence like this badge of honor and start again viewing support as a true strategy. because the women and men, I'm sure, who grow the fastest aren't necessarily the smartest. They're the most supported. And that is one of the greatest ways to get yourself unstuck is by just being vulnerable. And for me, it started out small. I organize the dishwasher gets loaded a certain way in my house. And my poor husband, he has to put up with me OCD. I've got a lot of issues that I have to work through over here that I'm always,
Girl, I get
you
it.
know,
Don't you
proactive.
let play the wrong way.
No, load it on staff. He was a load it anywhere, but I had to accept that. It felt good
Mhm.
for him to do that for me because he knew that I was doing all of these other things that I needed to do. And so I just had to relinquish that control. And it's hard at first, but the more you practice and the more you get clarity on what you actually need help with, it becomes easier and you become a magnet for attracting the support that you need. And that's again one of the greatest things to really help get yourself unstuck and to get yourself back in a little bit of an alignment of a routine that is serving you in the season of life with the things that you value the most.
Yeah, I love how you just said the kind of understanding, getting clarity on what you need. Because I think once you do get the clarity on what you need, then you can ask for the help. But it's taking that time to be aware, folks. Like she said, doing that audit or that alignment audit to where you're like, oh, well, maybe I really do need help here. And this is something I can ask for. And I know you've heard this quote before, but it's like 80%, or was it 20%, 80% done by somebody else is better than 100% done by me. And it's the truth. Like, I mean, and I do think about that. It's interesting because, again, as a professional helper that has a hard time asking for my own help, I have realized this thing that you're talking about. Like, I find such joy in being able to help somebody. If somebody calls me up and has a question, now I've had to learn how to put boundaries over the
Sure.
years. You know what I mean? Can't, because of my time, right? I can't do all things and I have to say no, like you're talking about. Like, no, I'm so sorry. Thank you for asking me. I cannot do that in this season. But when I'm able to help, it's like the best thing ever. And I think I've had to learn how to realize this as a leader, like when people are able to help me, I think they feel super great about the fact that they were able to help out and support the greater mission and vision of what we're trying to do. But to your point about like nobody moves a movement along, I love going to visit places and seeing these old cathedrals, like these super mammoth sized cathedrals and buildings that probably took, I don't know, a long, 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 long time to build.
Sure.
And I always look at them and I'm like, you know what? That sucker is so big. It's so beautiful. It stood for centuries and it was not built by itself. There
No,
was a lot of people that helped probably make that cathedral a reality to where it can now stand for years and years to come. And so it's just interesting how you said the badge of independence, how sometimes we can really put that on and be like,
I
but I
got
can
it.
do it.
Yep,
Like,
got it together.
in what
I
world?
mean,
You know what I mean? Like,
cares? Who cares? And I've just
if
had
you
to learn
can
to
do
work
it, what you going to look like afterwards? I mean, I don't know.
exactly. One of my mentors told me because she recognized very early on that I had some internal work that I needed to do to get like past this point. But she said, Ashley, you don't have to explain, prove, or justify any action to anybody. And so that's kind of just in my head. I don't have to prove, explain, or justify this right now. And you talked about, the power of support and how many people it took. And I love that because I think proximity is another important piece of this puzzle because it really did change the trajectory of my life and my business. When I got into Go Abundance Women 3 years ago, I did not know. I come from a very male dominated industry, mortgage, finance, very male dominated. We've come a long way, ladies, but it's still very male dominated. But I came in thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with 150 other women? Like, I feel really out of place right now. But it really truly changed the trajectory. Being surrounded by like minded, more importantly, like hearted women or people for men, because we have a men's side too, and it's equally important. Just finding the power and proximity and being surrounded by people who are building the same things as you. I really realized that you don't rise to the level of your goals. You rise to the level of your environment. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Jim Rohn said that. And when I started surrounding myself with women who were living differently, everything kind of changed. Not because they gave me a secret strategy, but because they expanded what I believed was possible. I saw women building successful businesses while prioritizing family, men too. I saw both. I saw men and women creating wealth without sacrificing themselves. I saw women and men asking for help, receiving support, creating boundaries, living intentionally. And suddenly I realized there's another way. And that's why I think community is also just as an important piece of this puzzle, because sometimes before you can create a new reality, you need to see someone else living it first. And for me, that was this piece. Okay, I've got this radical honesty. I know I need to change something. I'm now seeing model, women are modeling this next piece for me. And now I can take action because I now have sat through, I've had the honesty, I've had the realization, I know something needs to change. I have clarity on what needs to change. And now I can take action and actually implement some of the things in order to get me closer to my goal and whatever it was, in order to get me closer to alignment. So I think the power and proximity of being surrounded, like your circle is powerful. And sometimes that means setting boundaries around people that shouldn't be in your circle anymore. And that's, you have to grieve the loss of yourself and that person that got you here, but you sometimes have to grieve certain relationships that aren't in alignment, aren't going to get you and fuel you to this next version of you too. So that's an
Yeah.
important
Yeah.
thing.
That's always hard. And you know what? I have always said that I don't know about you, Ashley, but if I can get community and people are walking the journey with me, the journey is just so much better because then they know where I struggled and started and then they know where I landed and they're like, go girl. You know what I mean?
Yes, and I think that's
So,
important to talk about our struggles too, because we don't all have it together. We often wear the badge, wear the cape, and pretend like we have it all together. But if you let the facade down, if you really get real, if you get authentic and you have deep conversations, no one has it all together. And when you can be real and honest and share, hey, I'm really struggling with XYZ today. And also equally be able to say, hey, man, I've nailed that and be able to celebrate. Like, I think that's such an
yeah.
important thing to be able to have our highs and lows, have a safe place to be vulnerable and to share those with, because a lot of times the support kind of comes along with it as well in ways that I never expected, in ways men still don't expect this kind of next level support as well. So I think that's equally as important and really is a game changer.
Well, and I think something that I think about a lot too is when I do think about something that a lot of people, I think the more they go down the road is sometimes friends are harder to build when you are in a different trajectory than maybe the people that you've typically hung out throughout the years and stuff like that. And so, one of the most unexpected gifts for me, I know along the journey of trying to get into community of what you're talking about has been the unexpected friendships that
Yeah.
have really emerged and have been people that then, I end up doing life with because they are holding me accountable to living with intention and the way that I wanted to live. And I mean, like you said too, I mean, this is not you also get to share the struggles because it's going to come where you may not be in alignment in that season and you're trying to figure out your way back, or you had a really rough time personally or professionally. And I think one of the things that's really been supportive of me, the person that has a hard time asking for help, is just having knowing that there's somebody I can call up and be like, look, this just happened today. Please help. And then, sometimes when you're in those positions of leadership, you don't always have, unless you've intentionally built community around you for people to be able to call, you don't just always have somebody to call that's right next to you, to say, like, this is what's happening because it's something you can't share with everybody. Right. So,
Exactly.
how has community impacted you since, and you shared a little bit about this, but since you've, what caused you to make the transition to from, like, mortgage to this, and how did community support you in that?
Yeah. So I just let my license go about a year ago. So although I have been licensed for over 10 years, I was in this weird transition season of knowing that something had to change. So I held on to my license, but I scaled down on everything that I was doing to really explore what this community could do. And as soon as I had a peek into what it could be, I was all in, and I realized, okay, I feel like God is calling me and has given me certain gifts, and I'm not utilizing those gifts. And so it was, again, this whole process that I'm sharing with you of how I kind of came through. I just realized that what I was doing, I loved helping people with a big financial decision. I loved helping, women and children get into a home for the first time, but it didn't feel at the core of what I felt called to do. I felt like there was something deeper. And the power of so I was going through this transition, and being in this community, and the power of being able to model what they were doing. I realized I had been playing small, and I think a lot of us feel like we've been told we're too much, or maybe we feel small. We've made ourselves smaller because we don't want to make others feel uncomfortable in the ideas that we have, or what is possible. But I got to see firsthand what truly is possible when you can live intentionally, when you can set boundaries, when you can ask for support, when you can share things that you're struggling with, and just having a sounding board saying, hey, I mean, my business has pivoted multiple times because I can say, hey, I am thinking about doing this. I'm thinking about doing this investment. What am I not seeing? And you have women or men or whoever, these people in your life that are pillars for you, be a sounding board and say, hey, here's what I'm not seeing. Ashley, here's what you've told me is really important to you. It seems like maybe you're getting off track. Or they can ask me questions, because I think a lot of times too, we know the answer within ourselves, but it takes people asking us questions to
The
really
right question at the
the
right
right
time sometimes
yes.
that you're like, "What? Okay, yeah."
Yeah, to be able to pull kind of this knowing that we already have within ourselves out. And so really it's changed my life in a way that I really stopped believing that I had to choose between ambition and presence and motherhood. I didn't have to choose between growth and presence, or achievement and fulfill it. I could have both. I could live this and life and be in full alignment. And I really hope that people remember that alignment matters more than any accomplishment, because I think a lot of us can resonate with the fact that they've achieved a goal, they've met the milestone, but it didn't feel the way they thought it would, or it cost them something. It cost them a relationship, it cost them their health. And at the end of the day, we can have it all. We get to choose. We get to build, you know, I'm a believer God gave us this life. He gave us the gifts and the tools to go out and create this life. And if we're not willing to be uncomfortable, if we're not willing to um, live a little bit differently, to live more intentionally, then we're not serving and using the gifts that we've been given. We're not able to make an impact. We're not able to leave a legacy. And I think that starts from inside. It's an inside out job. It really is a ripple effect.
Yeah, and I really, you just said inside out job. I really what I've observed of myself and of others, there's no other way but through, and you have to start from within, because until you are able to look at some of the things that are driving, like to your point,
Yeah.
this focus on maybe achievement attached to worth, you're going to achieve, and it's going to be like there's always going to be another achievement to be had,
Yes.
and so, okay, well, if women or men, no, we're not
All
leaving
of
them out
you.
today. We're wanting to learn a little bit more about you, or connect with you, or even find out more about this group. Where is the best way for people to find out more about Ashley and connect with you?
Yeah. The easiest place is just my website. It has some free resources on there. And you can find out a little bit more about the communities and all kinds of other fun things. It's Ashley, ASHLEY, Huegi, HUEGI.com. And I would love to just stay connected. And my favorite thing to do is have conversations with incredible human beings and just give them one thing that is going to help them move the needle. So I would love to connect with anybody that's listening.
Well, awesome. We'll make sure we'll link it all up on the show notes. But actually, I do like to ask my guests a little question before we wrap up today.
Yeah.
But if you were to go back to maybe younger Ashley, I don't know if it's like starting in the mortgage profession, Ashley, or if it's Ashley with a new baby at home or even younger than that, Ashley, but any point in younger you's life, and you would go back and you'd want to give her one piece of advice or word of encouragement or just something that you'd want to impart to the younger version of you, what would you go back and tell
Oh
Ashley?
gosh. So I got chills a little bit because that is such a good one. I think it goes back to being even younger. There's moments in my life where I can remind myself of this when I'm for a first mom, when I was first entering the mortgage industry, like big milestone. But I think it comes down to being like a 7-year-old me and just reminding myself that I have already been perfectly designed for what I'm created to do. I just have to leverage the gifts that I've been given and not be afraid to make others feel uncomfortable because I'm going to disappoint people and that's okay. Not everybody is for me. I'm not here to serve everybody. I'm here to serve that one person that needs to hear what I have to say. And a lot of times we think things happen for us, but they don't really happen for us. They happen so that we can help somebody else who's experiencing or navigating a similar challenge and say, hey, I've been there, I made it through, and so can you. And so, really, I think that's just my one piece of advice. All of us have a unique story, all of us have a voice, all of us have a gift that we can give somebody. And to me, that is ultimately what this is about at the end of the day is the impact piece. Success is defined a lot of different ways, but for me, success is defined if I can help one person a day, then I've done what I've been called here to do.
I believe the same that we're all given get different, specific, unique gifts and talents and abilities, and I think sometimes because of just whether it be our experiences in childhood or teenage years or culturally or societally, we start to lose pieces of ourselves along the way, and sometimes it's just reminding yourself that hey, listen, you have everything within you. Part of it is just unlocking it and stepping into it, and sometimes that takes a journey where we get to a point where we're like, "Oh, what we're like," and I've done it many times. I've unlocked and then hidden and then unlocked and,
Yeah.
gone back and forth. And it's just trying to figure out, like, yeah, I love the questions that you asked even earlier. And I'll just remind them for the listeners because I wrote them down over here in my handy dandy notebook. But is this going to take me away from moving the needle? Is this going to take me, like for you, one of the questions was, is it going to take me away from being eye to eye with my kids? And I love this question that you asked. And so for those of y'all listening, I'd like to always give you something to take away, but it's what is my current version of success costing me? And actually, I just appreciate and want to acknowledge you because, this was a question that you asked yourself at one point and probably still ask every now and then to
Course.
yourself. But like you said, okay, I'm having this realization myself, but you didn't stop there. You said, how can I also help other women along this journey figure out what is this version of success costing them and how can they have a more aligned version of what they believe success is that really aligns with what they value and where they want to spend their time and what's most important to them because we don't know how long we're going to get on this ball that rolls around the sun, you know what I mean? We might have a little time, we might have a lot of time, I don't know. But we all got only so much time, and so I think living and figuring out how to live that aligned life and
Yes.
redefining success and really helping champion the narrative that success doesn't always have to be achievement. It can look so many different ways. I think really can support us all. So thank you for being on the show today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful. This is one of my favorite things to do, and just very blessed to be here. So thank you so much.
Same girl, same. So if you have been listening, remember, guess what, guys? This is not a we arrived and it's done, but you too can take some time. That's one of the things I challenge you to do this week, wherever you're at, is take some time to have some radical, honest conversations with yourself, like Ashley encouraged you to look at your time to see, is this being aligned for me in this season? And if it's no, it's going to be hard to sometimes let go. But guys, just let go so that way you can grow to whatever it is that you're feeling called to. Until next time.
That's all for today on Inspiring Possible. If you found a little inspiration today, please go on over to iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you tune in to listen to leave us a comment and rate us. Also, make sure and link up with me at inspiringpossible.com to get the free Dream It, Write It, Do It workbook. And don't forget to follow us on social media and share this with anyone who needs to be inspired. Remember, if you can believe it, it's possible.